Previously on bullshit supplements. The first video spread through the internet like wildfire, educating the public, pissing off supplement companies, and introducing the world to some loudmouth asshole with great hair and a somewhat creepy interest in Pokemon at the age of 24. Through a combination of science, logic, and randomly inserted fart jokes, we broke down how the supplement industry works and the BS behind some of their products. Even though we have barely begun to scratch the surface, as there is still so much to learn and so many poorly edited memes to include. That being said, let's do this again.
Hey man, it's Mike from Six Pack Shortcuts channel.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is VitruvianQA. Thank you for stopping by. So, it has been almost a year since my first installment of Bullshit Supplements, episode 1, and the video went, fairly popular. A lot of people had a lot of comments asking, can you do more? Can you talk about more supplements? And the answer is always yes. I wanted to do another video. In fact, I want to do a whole video series on this. So guys, this is episode 2. We're going to have 3, 4, 5, whatever, as long as it takes. If the supplement industry keeps on lobbing them up, I'm going to keep on smacking them out of the park, because there's just so much bullshit to go through. So some of you guys may be wondering, why am I doing this video again? Aren't I, just pretty much beating a dead horse into the ground? And it's very simple. There are 2 reasons. Number 1 is it's a very popular topic on YouTube, and I am of course a slut for views. And number 2 is because nothing has changed. The supplement industry is the exact same as it's always been. It's probably, been getting worse, been getting bigger, and just, these shady practices, although they are starting to come into the limelight these days, through social media, a lot of these companies are getting, called out for their kind of shady practices with regards to product pricing, marketing especially, the whole Photoshop fiasco. There's still a lot to cover, and we're gonna do that here. So I wanted to take this video and focus on just general shady aspects of the business which I have noticed over the years, and just, give you guys a couple red flags that you should, potentially watch out for, at least in my opinion, when it comes to choosing a company to purchase from and, which products to get from them. But in the future, we're gonna have other episodes which are going to touch upon individual supplements in general, so I can talk about the science, the evidence behind them. Are they safe? Are they effective? We're going to be talking about fat burners. I cannot wait to lay into that one. Mass gainers, protein supplements in general, test boosters. God, I cannot wait to talk about that one. That one is definitely a load of bullshit. And before we get started, guys, one more thing to note is that I have included an index of topics down below in the description, so there's going to be timestamps with everything. So if you want to skip ahead throughout this long-ass video, which I know it's going to be, feel free to do so. You can jump ahead to whatever topic you are interested in. Also, guys, 2 things I need to disclose before we get into this topic, just for completely being transparent, unbiased, at least in my opinion, as much as I can be, and fair. I am sponsored by a supplement company, but you guys, I really think, are going to understand by the end of this video why I chose to go with that one, obviously being my protein. And you're going to realize that unlike, some people in the industry, when they look for a supplement sponsorship and they think, okay, I'm ready to sign with a company, they think, who can do the most for me in terms of like who's gonna pay me the most or who's gonna like give me the most social media outreach or whatever. But I think that's kind of backwards. Instead of thinking like, what can they do for me? It should be like, are they a good product and can I do something for them in terms of the general audience? Because if there's a company out there and it's a piece of crap, but they pay you a lot, I wouldn't feel comfortable taking that money and then like, you know, advertising it out to my fans, my followers, my viewers, because you guys mean so much to me. The only reason I do this is because of you. So how could I, you know, in any ethical stance, market that bullshit to you? So I think it's kind of backwards. Instead of saying, what can you do for me? It should be, what can I do for my fans? So when it comes to my supplement company with my protein, they had no idea who I was. I looked up all these different companies in terms of price, in terms of quality, in terms of all these different factors, which we're going to talk about throughout this video. And I reached out to them and I'm like, listen, I don't give a shit about your marketing. I don't give a shit about like, you know, your branding, your this, your that. Like, you know how some of these companies have like our message to our fans? No, I don't care about that. Is your product, you know, at a reasonable price? Is it at a good quality? And can I stand behind this? If all, you know, the check marks are checked off, I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, I want to work with you. And the second thing is, guys, when it comes to this video, I'm going to be giving you guys a lot of examples in terms of what some of the companies out there are doing and kind of just showing you, whether it be like, you know, screenshots or graphs or whatever, some kind of shady stuff. And there's one company in particular which just loves being the perfect example of all, you know, all this shady stuff. They're just checking off all the boxes, you know, I've listed over here. So unfortunately for them, that company is SHREDZ. Now I know a lot of people may be thinking like, well, you know, SHREDZ have been getting so much bad publicity recently, you know, on social media. All these accounts are just destroying them with Devin Physique leaving the company. I'm not the kind of person that likes to like beat on someone when they're down, unless that person is Hitler. So in that case, but one thing I have to watch out is I have heard rumors that, you know, they'll do their best to like, you know, get stuff taken down off social media, and in some cases even suing people. So because I don't feel like, you know, getting sued today, we have to be careful what we're doing. When it comes to defamation, which is like their go-to thing, defamation is a communication about a person that tends to hurt the person's reputation. Oh yeah, we're gonna do that. It causes the reader or listener to think less of the person, that too. The communication must be made to other people, you guys, and not just to the person it's about. Well, if SHREDZ wants to watch this, feel free to do so. I welcome your viewership as long as you guys understand that I think you're a bunch of dicks. If defamation is spoken, then it is considered slander. And when it comes to slander, there's actually a couple defenses you can do. So pretty much a statement can hurt your reputation, which this will, but if it is true, anyone who says it has a valid defense if you sue them for defamation. So everything throughout this video is going to be provided with sources, whether it be on screen or down in the video description below, and fair comment. So we are all free to comment, even harshly, which this will be, about issues of public interest, as long as we are clear that our comments are statement of opinion, not fact. Well, we're going to have some facts, and we're going to have some of my own Vitruvian Physique opinions, like it is my opinion that SHREDZ is pretty much a big collection of dicks. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, this is probably the most important deciding factor, in my opinion, when it comes to supplements. Although I want to say a little, you know, requirement. And guys, take this with a grain of salt, because when I'm talking about prices, you have to compare within reasonable companies that are at least, you know, have somewhat of a reputation. They're kind of well known. This means deal with decent companies from decent websites, as opposed to like, you know, going down the street to that guy who looks like Borat and buying his weird rip-off supplements off the back of his pickup truck, which are pretty much going to be 20% protein and 80% syphilis. So the first big red flag, in my opinion, when it comes to supplements is not giving a good standard of measurement when it comes to your products. Lots of times we want to say, okay, how, you know, much am I paying for a kilogram of creatine, or like, you know, 2 pounds of protein? That way I could look at one company, look at another company, look at all these different websites and make a comparison. This one's 10 bucks per pound, this one's 12 bucks per pound, and you could like, you know, make a very good informed decision. Imagine going to a store trying to buy chicken breast, and instead of, you know, dollars per pound or dollars per kilogram, it's like X dollars per Y servings, and each chicken is like 1/2 the concentration, and you're kind of sitting there like, what the fuck is this, Hogwarts? What is with this like magical system of measurement? 12 teaspoons of like Eye of Newt, combine it in your cauldron, stir it around, Wingardium Leviosa that shit.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Shut the fuck up!
So if you go on SHREDZ's website, it says very clearly, today's offer $50 for 1 month supply of creatine. What does that mean? Is 1 month supply the same for a 300-pound man versus like a 120-pound female? Like, what does this mean? If you actually go to the very bottom, you look at the USA actual nutrition label, you find out that serving size is 4 capsules. There are 30 servings per container, and each capsule itself contains 1,000 milligrams of creatine magna power, whatever the fuck that means. Like, what am I supposed to sit here, break out my calculator, get my Excel sheet, start plotting a graph, and try to figure out that 4 capsules, 30 per serving, but there's only 1,000 milligrams, and the average human probably needs about anywhere from 3 to 5,000 milligrams of creatine per day. Do all this weird concoction of math together, which, 90% of the public isn't going to do because they just don't care, because they trust the company, they're gonna buy it, and that's where they get screwed over. If you do all this math, you figure out that this 1 month supply of creatine for $50 is 120 grams of usable creatine, when on MyProtein or other websites, you can get like a kilogram or 1,000 grams or 1,000,000 milligrams for like $12. Guys, when it comes to supplements, especially for example, like protein, in this example that I'm gonna throw up on the screen right now, this is a table. I took a bunch of popular companies, which that I know off the top of my head and I was able to Google. I took their protein supplements, I plotted the weight, the price, and then we have a very good measurement. This is actual protein per $1 US. It could come in 2 pounds, it could come in 5 pounds, it could be $30, $40, but how much actual usable product, what you're paying for, actually comes in it. I color coded it, and as you can tell, my protein is very high. We're talking 36, 38 grams of protein per $, so, not bad. It is the highest in this chart. Again, you're starting to see, the pattern as to why I decided to go with them. Yes, no, maybe so. And then you have other companies which, again, I'm not trying to call any of them out in a negative fashion, or I'm not making anything up. This is straight from their website that I was able to find. It's not exactly the case. For example, like, no offense to EHP and ASD, but they're about 10 grams of protein per $1 US. Like, really? Is protein so much of a specialized and unique and interesting product that it could be priced almost 1/4 as much and still be worth it? I don't know. So there's this thing, it's called price elasticity of demand. Every product ever purchased in the history of time in the universe can be plotted on a spectrum of whether it is inelastic or elastic. So pretty much products that are inelastic are something that you absolutely require. You don't care what happens to the price of it. The demand is always the same. It's essentially always like, maximum. A good example of this would be something like gasoline. People still need gas to go to work. People still need gas to pick up their kids. So the price of gas can go up 10% tomorrow. You're gonna bitch, you're gonna complain, but you know what? You're still gonna go fill up on gas because you need it to survive. You need it to all these, basic things you can do. Another example of this, unfortunately, is iPhones, where the iPhone 6 is $800, the iPhone 6S is $1,000, and the new iPhone 7 coming soon is only gonna cost you 3 fingers, which you're gonna have to surgically remove at the Apple Store. 20 megapixel camera! What are you doing? On the other hand, you have products that are elastic, which means that their demand is very sensitive to price increases or decreases because there are so many substitutes, there are so many rival companies, and supplements are a prime example of this. Guys, how many supplement companies can you name? I could sit here and name 10 off the top of my head, go online and find like another 100. I can go to the store and find like another 100 that I didn't even know existed because because it's not a regulated industry, anyone could enter it. So because of that, I believe that when it comes to supplements, price should be the key defining factor when it comes to deciding which one you should get. Guys, let's be honest, when it comes to supplements, all it is raw ingredients, right? I mean, people say like my protein's the best and my creatine has like faster, higher absorption rates, but in 90% of cases, unless there's some like crazy fluctuations in quality, or unless you're getting some weird sketchy company, it's all gonna be fine. So companies that charge like 4 times the price, who the fuck are you kidding? Another thing you have to look at is actual concentrations, because like I said, if something is cheap but it has a poor concentration, it kind of cancels out. So back on that protein example, if you look at the concentration column, and again, I've color coded it with you guys because we all love rainbows, the highest concentration of actual protein, this is in terms of how much protein is found in the actual scoop. So if it's 25 grams of protein in a 30-gram scoop, it's like 80% or something, it's not bad. If it's 15 grams of protein in a 30-gram scoop, that's 50%. Why am I paying so much money if 50% of what I'm getting isn't even what I actually need? It's essentially bullshit. Now, obviously the concentration is usually higher in protein isolates as opposed to blends or other supplements, which is fine, which is why you pay the, a little bit extra. But there are some companies where the concentration is just completely skewed and it just makes no sense to me. So for example, right here, my protein is fairly well. Their, non-isolate is 80%, so also not bad considering the price you're paying for them. No offense to GAT, but I don't know what Superteen is, but it's less than 50% concentration. So their protein supplement is 55% non-protein. Maybe that's, the point of that supplement. I don't want to bash anybody, but that's kind of weird for me. BSN Synthesix is 47%. Also not the best, and it kind of fluctuates. SHREDZ, on the other hand, is actually 80%, so, good for them. If they weren't such a piece of crap when it comes to how much they price their products, it would actually be a decent supplement. Okay guys, jumping over to quality. So let's say it's a good concentration, it's a good price, everything checks off, but how sure are you that what you're getting, and what's on the label is actually in the bottle, and how sure that what you're getting is actually healthy or relatively healthy, is actually, safe, that there's nothing weird found in it, and how good of a product is it? So when it comes to supplements in terms of whether they are effective or not, whether there's scientific evidence behind them or not, Examine.com is a fantastic website. I love it, I use it all the time, I highly recommend it to you guys. But if you want to look at, okay, we've established that a supplement is effective, but now which company should we go and use? There's another website very similar to Examine.com, it's called Labdoor.com, and what it pretty much is a third-party independent laboratory testing website or service. What they do is they get samples of these, supplements, and they test them independently in their lab to determine, okay, here's what it says in the bottle. Is that actually what we found through our, chemical laboratory testing? And is there any other weird shit like heavy metal, which could lead to like other health issues? And, just in general, how good of a quality product is it? So they look at a couple things: label accuracy, product purity, nutritional value, safety. I don't want to be paying for poison. Project efficacy, so projected efficacy, so is it actually going to help me and do what it says it does if taken under the proper circumstances? So if you actually go over to their top 10 protein supplements, they've got a massive list, and there's a lot of companies. Some of them I've never even heard of, some of them are pretty big names, and they're still kind of found low on the list. So again, no offense to them. There's their BSN Synthesis 6 again, coming in at a D+, so I apologize to them, but I mean, the numbers don't lie. Either way, this, guys, is why I decided, one of the reasons why I decided to go with my protein sponsor. All the way at the top is MyProtein. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm not trying to make this into a commercial for them. I'm just trying to tell you guys that there are so many companies out there with different prices, concentrations, different quality. So when you look at them, you actually have to determine, what am I getting? This is a great website for checking that out. I've had a lot of people in other countries, such as India or like in Asia, they're messaging me, they're saying, I don't really know which supplement company to go with because there's a lot of like scammers here, especially in the East, and they may be getting like, you get weird stuff, so who do I trust? Don't listen to me, listen to the website. And it shows you exactly everything you need to know. There's a whole report. Price per serving is like 60 cents, so it kind of looks at how good of a product it is, in addition to the actual value of it. Label accuracy, purity, nutritional value, it's all in the green. So, I mean, again, whoever you go with, as long as they're okay on here, they're in the top 5 or top 10, Godspeed. But to be honest, guys, this even happens in the West. On CBC.com, which is a big news station here in Canada, they recently did an article on protein spiking in very popular companies and supplements sold right here in like GNCs or in big stores. So what protein spiking is when manufacturers use nitrogen-based compounds such as free amino acids, which can look like protein, keyword being look, on standard tests. Only more specialized analysis can tell the difference. So pretty much nitrogen is a molecule found in the chemical structure of protein, so they're pretty much dumping in a bunch of bullshit nitrogen, which actually your body can't actually use for protein synthesis, but on 9 out of 10 tests, it's gonna appear as A-okay because all the molecular indicators, nitrogen is there. That's really sketchy, guys. That means that you're getting a bottle which says like, it's a pound of protein, when in reality like 30, 40, whatever percentage of that, maybe just this bullshit nitrogen, whatever. I don't know if it's gonna harm you, I don't know if it's gonna help you, but it's definitely not, what you're paying for. This is probably the biggest one when it comes to shady practices in the industry. I've always believed that the product and the price should sell itself. That is why, in my opinion, when it comes to affiliates or ambassadors or whatever you want to call it, these athletes like myself who kind of represent a company, our job is to pretty much be like, hey, this is what I use, I like it for these reasons. If you want to use it, go ahead. I'm just advertising it to you, showing it off. The product should sell itself. The person can go on the link and then look at the nutritional label and decide for themselves whether, it's worth it or not. My job is just the messenger. The product should sell itself. I never believed that like the marketing and the this and the that, should be the main reason why anybody is buying something. When there's like these younger, impressionable kids or people newer to the industry, and they see some of these massive guys who are, let's be honest, on vitamin S, and they're like, I take this because this is how I look, the way I do. That is bullshit, guys. Who are you kidding? Like in my case, I like MyProtein, but I've only been with them for a couple months. 99.99% of my physique was built before I ever even knew about them. So can they help me? Sure, but if I switch to another company or if I stop taking supplements in general, would the world fall for me and would my physique, dissipate? Absolutely not. It's just a convenience factor and it's also a price factor. Guys, let's be honest, like taking an example like Michael Jordan, he's always like, yeah, Gatorade. He's pretty much saying like, they sponsor me, I like the way it tastes, I like the way, I guess, it rehydrates me, but, is this why I won 6 championships? Bullshit. I could just as easily switch to Powerade, I could just as easily switch to like, water, and I would, it's not gonna, make him a worse athlete. It's just, here it is, I like it, you wanna buy it? Go ahead, if you don't, fuck it. Guys, another kind of red flag, which I hate to see, and a lot of companies do this, so I'm not gonna like call anybody out, specifically, but here are a couple names which I've seen in other companies out there for their supplements. Amino tone. What the fuck is tone? I already hate that word, but the fact that you put amino in front of it, like, oh, these amino acids are gonna help you tone. Guys, you can bulk, you can cut, you can maybe recomposition, so like, burn fat and build muscle at the same time, but toning means nothing. Testogen, I guess it's like testosterone genesis or something. SHREDZ, like, I've laid off on them for like 12 seconds there, gotta get back on them. Burner max, in case you want to, you want the max burn. Shape and tone, great. They add another word which I friggin' hate. 6-pack, it's not even called a supplement anymore. It's just called 6-pack. Guys, like, are you serious? In my opinion, all supplements should be named exactly what they are. Like protein powder, creatine powder, glutamine, BCAAs, they are called what they are. If you as the consumer do not know what it means, if you don't know what BCAAs or glutamine means or what it does, you shouldn't be buying it. You should do a little bit more research. You should actually understand. So when companies, skip calling it what it is, and they call it something, kind of that sounds cool, like Magna Power or like Dragon Drink or some other bullshit, like that's kind of sketchy. And probably the worst thing when it comes to marketing is straight up lying, guys. Like, because it's not regulated, unlike drugs, you can't say it does something when it doesn't because they can sue the crap out of you. Supplements, it kind of gets a little wavy and it's a little bit more flexible in what you can say, especially when you use very generic words and very generic terminology, which is like, well, you can't disprove it. So, for example, again, SHREDZ, just gotta love them. When it comes to their creatine, it says, enhances recovery, which I have seen no scientific evidence of. This, I don't know where they got that from. Perhaps creatine, obviously it increases CTP, increases ATP, reuptake, so it may increase endurance, but enhances recovery kind of makes it seem like you're gonna recover faster, work out sooner, cut your recovery time down from 5 days to 3 days by speeding up like, muscle synthesis, micro tear recovery, or like lactic acid. Like, it doesn't do any of that. I don't know where they get this from. Or increases lean mass, which it doesn't do. Lean mass is muscle. Creatine does not increase lean mass. It doesn't burn fat. All it does is give you a little bit of additional endurance, and it also increases a little bit of body water retention. So if you're saying that, okay, your mass is increased through water and you're calling that lean mass, that's bullshit. Don't get me wrong, creatine is a good supplement. I use it, I recommend it to like my viewers, my clients, it's a good thing, it's worth the money, but the product sells itself. Don't try to dress it up even more so by giving it these magic things, which it doesn't do. Other sketchy stuff is when you're buying supplements in stores versus online, it gets a little bit weirder because of these weird sales tactics. So when it comes to online, you don't want to close the page, end of story. But when you're in stores, I've heard so much dumb stuff. I was once in a supplement store and I was just like, browsing, buying like a pre-workout. Or there was a guy, he was obviously kind of new to this. He was like an older gentleman, overweight. He didn't really know much. And he talked to a guy, he's like, listen, I'm interested in losing weight. Can you offer me anything that helps? And the guy's like, here, man, you need creatine. And I'm like, are you serious? Number one, there is no scientific evidence whatsoever in any magnitude or strength in any situation that hints at creatine helping in fat loss or weight loss. In fact, there's scientific evidence that creatine increases your weight because it adds water retention. So like, what was that? Or another time, there was a guy I heard, he was saying like to, someone came in and he was looking at protein supplements and he was trying to get, I guess, more commission. So he was trying to sell him the higher price protein. And he's like, man, you need this one because this one's got BCAAs, this one doesn't. So it's like, are you freaking kidding me? BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, are just amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein itself. It is physically impossible for you to have a protein supplement which doesn't have them because that's what they are. Just, it's the building blocks of protein molecules. themselves. So these guys can tell you whatever the hell they want. They can say that like pre-workouts are gonna make you fly, and like, you know, mass gainer is gonna double your dick size, and you're just sitting there like, okay. So the last thing I want to mention before the end of this video, we did an economics, you know, lesson, so let's do a marketing lesson. So a really good fundamental aspect of marketing is called the 4 Ps. We've got product, price, place, and promotion. So in a perfect world, you know, with a good ethical company or industry, product would be, here's a supplement, here's what it does, it's all proven, do you want it? End of story, up to you. The price would be, here's a supplement, here's the price. It's very easy to calculate, it's very easy to compare against other companies, your choice. The place would be, it doesn't matter, it could be sold in stores, it could be sold online, everywhere you're gonna get good, reliable information. And the promotion would be, you know, I guess people like myself, ambassadors or athletes or whatever, we can say, here it is, I like it, I use it, go check it out if you want. That's it. I am simply the messenger. The product sells itself. Unfortunately, what it really is, when it comes to product, it's pretty much like literally 50% of supplements out there don't even do what they're supposed to do. It's complete bullshit. You're essentially paying for $50 of something which you're gonna fart out anyway. And in some cases, they're actually kind of harmful or, you know, potentially unsafe. There's been like a couple of lawsuits with some of these companies, and it's kind of weird. When it comes to the price, it's vastly different, even though it is the most elastic product in the world. And even like a 5% increase in price, the demand should go down significantly. It's not marketed that way because it's sold as like, our protein is specific and it's, you know, magical and it's, you know, it's gonna make you like a Pokemon master. And it makes no sense because no protein or any supplement for that matter should ever be like 4 times the price of another one. There's no way that it's that significant of a quality increase. In terms of place, it should be sold wherever with the same, you know, ethical standards, but unfortunately lots of times it's sold on like social media and it's marketed through that way as a platform in very, very sketchy ways, with lying, with Photoshop, with, you know, like athletes who are in tons of gear but completely ignore that aside, which is fine, but then the fact that they peddle their supplements as like, this is the go-to reason how I got my physique, that's kind of, and by kind of I mean pretty damn sketchy. And the final thing is promotion, guys. Like I said, pretty much athletes like myself, expos, social media, all this stuff, that's completely okay, but it should only be a form of marketing. Here it is. Here's the price, here's the product, here's the evidence behind it. Do you like it? Go ahead. If you don't, nothing I can do. So that's it, guys. That is the end of the video. I apologize if it went so long. It's definitely one of my longer videos, but there's just so much to talk about. First of all, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you like this video and you want me to do more, number one, leave a like. And also maybe comment down below with which supplements you'd like me to see, you know, in my next episodes, you know, like some kind of amino acid or like mass gainers or fat burners, testosterone boosters. Which ones do you want me to do more? And the one that is very popular in the comment section or gets the most likes or whatever, you know, I'll try to include that one. And again, there's always gonna be science, there's always gonna be evidence behind it. It's always an unbiased approach, at least as unbiased as I can. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.